there's no greater feeling other than knowing that you're making deposits into yourself and that you are getting better with age, period.
Yeah.
Like you're a better version of you today than you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Real business owner, real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward. Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast with myself, Trevor Cowley. And we've got, I think, my day one dude. I think it's day one, bro, for the most part. I don't know how long you came, how long I was there before you came along. It wasn't that long, but Colter Eagan is the individual that runs 60-Day Credit Repair, partner with us over there. He's a partner in Thrifty Marketing and a partner in Kick Debt Relief as well. So now he can put serial entrepreneur underneath his profile name.
The bio is
the bio.
Fine.
You know, the question is how much money do all of these serial ventures make, right? It sounds cooler than it actually is, but for real, I mean, what was I, 25 or something like that, and you were 19, so it's been a 14, 15-year journey together, something like that?
Yep. I was 19, and I think you'd been there for 6 to 8 months or something like that before me.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 15 years.
Yeah, I was Colter's, I guess, team leader in a sales position. Colter used to set me up with deals, and I would get on the phone and drop the hammer and close deals and try to make money. And, I mean, it was just all fun and games kind of back then. Now, life is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know?
More complicated and less complicated at the same exact time.
Yeah.
So
what would you say is your biggest lesson over that 15 years that we've been together, going from having fun, goofing off, just being literal kids in an office to all of the battles that we've had, you know, butting heads, right? As you maturing from 19 to whatever, 34, 35 years old, right? Yeah. And me maturing from 25 years old to, 40 years old in a month and a half, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of changes that a human goes through in that period of, their 20s to 30s, mid 30s, early 40s, right? At one point, you wanted to be massively successful, make all this money, thought business ownership was going to be really, really cool. How lucky, you get to sit in the back, all of those things. And I remember us having a conversation one time, and I said, I wouldn't wish business ownership on my worst enemy when I was having a bad day and you walked in.
I wouldn't wish entrepreneurship the worst enemy.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bad day, and I think anybody that's been in business has found those days, right? Like, I think those days found them, if you're in the game long enough. So what would you think is one of your biggest takeaways over 15 years of watching all of these things that have been built and then being a part of some of these businesses that have been built?
Couple different answers to that, I suppose. The biggest one is it's never what you think it's going to be. So we put these expectations out there. And I think maybe that's why a lot of the times when we get to a goal that we have set, that maybe we don't have as much fulfillment.
Get disappointed.
Like. Correct. And it's because of these expectations that we set that we're going to feel this way and life is just going to be this way when I achieve this thing. And then we get there, it was way different of a path that you even thought you were going to have to take to get there. And then to even maintain it or to try to push further, it's not even close to what you had envisioned, right?
So hitting your goals is somewhat depressing? Would you use that term?
I wouldn't go that far.
Underwhelming?
You move the goalposts on yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So
why do you think that is, though?
It's in our DNA as human beings. That's why we're sitting in this office with a roof over our head and an air-conditioned environment and water right here, nice transportable. I drove here in my truck with air conditioning at 75 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So as human beings, still, again, we look around and we're like, how much further can we even take the human race and
Yeah.
VR and all these things that are popping up left and right, because as humans, we're just not ever
Content.
We're not content.
Yeah.
We're not actually wired to ever really be
Content.
and that's why the goalpost will continue to move. You say, hey, I get to this income level, and I very vividly, you saying, if I'll make six figures and I will be happy and I'll have the world is my oyster at that point.
Yeah.
And then you got there and you're like,
What the fuck?
What?
Where did the money go?
What is this?
Yeah.
This is not even close to what I thought. And then we almost discount that achievement. It's just like, we don't even care.
Yeah.
We're on to the next milestone, and we kind of don't even take a chance to look at the view of where we've climbed to at this point. But again, it's just in our DNA at the most finite level, is to just keep pushing.
So do you think people should continue to push and just set more so targets and chase the targets? Or do you think that they should be more focused on the process? Because in reality, I think that you've gone through a process, right? You took over a business, you saw people leave the business, had to rebuild the business for the most part. And I think I've talked about that on a podcast before, is anytime that there's new leadership, when somebody's used to the old leadership in place, whether the leadership that's coming in is good or bad or mid-grade, whatever, it doesn't matter. They can be great, but people still won't like answering to somebody new. So when Colter came in, I think I even told you, I don't know if you remember me telling you, I said, within a year, 70 to 80% of these people will not even be here anymore. You will have to hire underneath your, way of doing things, so that that's all that they know is you interviewed them, you hired them, they answer to you. Therefore, there is no other option, right?
Right.
People still prefer to try to run to, mommy or daddy or however you want to put it, right?
So as humans, we're wired for survival.
Yeah.
At our very lowest level.
Yeah.
And we know that we're going to survive if we do exactly what we did yesterday. And so if somebody was underneath you and you were the leader, they know that as long as I show up and Trevor's still there, there's going to be tomorrow.
Mm.
And if another leader steps in, now it's
uncertainty,
change, it's unfamiliarity.
Yeah.
And they start panicking.
Yeah.
And the survival instinct kind of kicks in, even though it doesn't make sense. Like, why would a new owner come in and try to
make things worse,
make things harder?
Yeah.
Because that person ultimately has to have people there for the business to be successful.
Yeah.
But it's like, I haven't been here. I don't know this. I need to go where I know other people are surviving, because right now the 20 or 30 or 40 people that are here, they haven't been under this person. So I don't know if them or myself is going to survive. Right.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty drastic analogy, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. Right.
Yeah.
Like, let me go to another company where I know somebody that is surviving, and let me just go get a job there, because I don't know what my future looks like under this new.
Yeah. I mean, it's just perception, right? And if a change happens outside of them, if it's not a decision that they made, it kind of shakes up some things, and their perception is maybe because it's unfamiliar, it's now unsafe, right? And then they start acting in a way that actually makes it unsafe because they start talking shit or causing problems, and then they become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And they're like, well, I told you so. I knew that I wasn't going to have a job here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, you already made that decision before the decision was made based upon your perception, right? Our perception is our reality, and we will force that reality to happen so that we prove ourselves right. I was even filming last night. I'm trying to film a deer in the horse pasture, and my daughter's like thinking I'm zooming in our way. Her reality is she was just soaking in the moment, like it was all about her.
Yeah.
She knows no different that there was I was trying to get the deer, but her perception is her reality, and I was filming her, not the deer behind her. Right. And so we have to be very, very careful about the thoughts that we think, because we will force those thoughts to become real, period. Right. Like, I remember you saying to me when I first started running, like, dude, I'm never going to be, why are you running? And now you're out there running. Like what changed in terms of your thought process there? Because something had to change in your mind before it actually changed in reality, right?
Little bit different from what was that. So my running for me is easy. My body is like literally just built.
I told you that. I told you. I'm like, dude, look at you. You could be a runner.
You are not built for running.
I appreciate your honesty. Yeah.
You're a stocky dude. You're built for heavy weights. And so when you were telling me to run, I was chasing what was hard for me, which is
gaining weight.
Lifting heavy.
Yeah.
It's been very, very hard for me to even get to this point. And my guess is if you and I stepped in the gym at the same time and you don't lift heavy anymore, you would probably still outlift me, right? So I was seeking
in some cases
what was hard for me, and you were seeking what was hard for you.
Yeah,
right. And
both are hard.
For some reason, it's interesting because people seem to respect the running thing more than being able to lift a lot of weight.
I know. Because I think everybody hates running equally.
Yeah.
Like you ask 100 people if they like running, 100 people will you ask 100 people if they like going to the gym to lift weights, you're going to get a chunk of those people that say, yeah, I love going to the gym.
Right.
A pump feels good.
Yeah.
There's really usually no easy miles. Every so often the sun shines on your ass and you have a great day, but those are far and few between, I
still hate running, for the record.
Yeah.
I still hate it.
I somebody asked me, like, hey, so do you love it now? And I'm like, well, I call it a coin. A coin has heads or tails. Is the coin heads or is it tails? Mm-hmm. It's still the exact same coin. I love running and I absolutely hate it at the exact same time. It just depends on, the flip of the coin on the day that I wake up and the mile that you ask me.
Yeah.
If you ask me after 3 miles and I'm starting to feel good and knock the rust off, then I'll say, man, that mile felt really good.
Yeah.
Ask me on specific days when I have a headache or I'm sick or whatever and I don't want to go. No, it was torture the whole time. So it's a hard question to answer. Do you love it or do you hate it? For the most part, I hate it, but I love the feeling that I receive after I get done with it. And I associate the running more with the pride and the feeling after.
Correct.
The torture than I do the actual torture, right?
Yeah. And again, not liking it is the reason why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I a quicker runner, again, for not really trying, and I don't do different workouts for running. I just go.
Yeah.
Whatever my legs are kind of telling me is what I do, and it's usually a little bit faster than average for most people.
Yeah.
But I still don't get super thrilled about it, but that's also why I do it, is because it's not something I get excited to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily get excited to go lace up and go run in the morning when it's 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's dark. The sun isn't up. It's not going to be up by the time I'm done. And
or now when it starts
have
getting
ice
hot.
in my beard by the time I'm done. And then I got to get my kids to school and go to work. But knowing that if I'm doing that hard of a thing to start the day, that usually the rest of the day is going to be a little bit easier on me mentally.
Well, I also believe that if other people know that you're out there doing very difficult things or hard things that they're unwilling to do, when you ask them to actually do something, you're not, 400 pounds and saying, go do this. Like they know that you're willing to do difficult things, that you're disciplined, and you're not really ever asking somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. It's not like you shy away from hard or difficult when you have physical, actual proof that, hey, this is the way that I live my life.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to respect and honor and follow through when somebody like you is a leader in the organization based upon the way that you handle yourself in your personal life, because you're what I would call an attractive character. You're doing all of the right things, right? So you make people want to be better when they're around you. So when you started going to the gym, how many people around you started going to the gym at the office?
Took some time.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years of consistency, then they were like, hey, you mind if I come with you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's go. And now we have a whole crew, and we all are always wearing our 60-day shirts. And like we literally are just known as the credit repair guys in the gym. When we go, we take lunch from 1 to 2, but there will be 5 to 7 of us in there.
Yeah.
Out of the 20 to 30 people that are at the gym. So almost a third of the people that are there are people that work together.
Yeah.
And they all know, like, oh, there they are showing up again.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I'm talking about.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, that is a good feeling.
So,
you know that's the thing is, when I tell people to elevate yourself, by default, you doing that, you will elevate other people, period. You're giving people permission and motivation and inspiration to do something different for themselves. Let's just keep it real. It doesn't feel good if you're not moving your body. If you're not lifting weights, if you're not running and you don't do whatever your mode of movement is, if you're not doing it and your body's designed to do it, it's impossible to actually wake up every day and say, I feel great in my body and I just love who I am. And right. You could say that you love who you are, but that's just bullshit, because I've been the type of guy that was 30 pounds overweight and knows what it feels like to have a flat tire around the waist, and not really want to take his shirt off, raft in the river, you know what I mean? Or whatever. We've had some good times on the river, cracking open cold ones and floating down. But at the exact same time, there's no greater feeling other than knowing that you're making deposits into yourself and that you are getting better with age, period.
Yeah.
Like, you're a better version of you today than you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And if you continue to do what you're doing, you're going to be a better version in 5 years or in 10 years or in 15 years, right? And it's just science.
Yeah.
It's mathematics.
Undoubtedly.
Is it? Science? It's physics. I don't know what it is, but it just is what it is, right? Colter decided to start a marketing company with his brother, and now they're slowly taking off and getting more and more clients, doing an amazing job for individuals. So, like, first, how did that come about? Was it because of your brother and him just wanting something to do in terms of a career for him? Was it an idea that you had that you said, hey, you should go into this business or into this industry? Like, how did that come about?
I'll try to not be so long-winded with this, but it started with 60 Day.
Yeah.
Big Money Maloof coming in and setting up the marketing for 60 Day.
Yeah.
And, our back was against the wall with another company, and it was basically dying on the vine, so to speak. And I was about to lose not only, I was an owner in that business at that time, and I was about to lose my income and the job that I had worked at for the last 10 years, basically.
Yeah.
And he came in and set up marketing for the credit repair company, and it took off.
Yeah.
In 2020, and it took off very, very, very quickly, right? Very accelerated pace through social media marketing. And at that time, my brother was actually going to college up north. I'm not even going to say which one because I always get it wrong. But he was wanting to be a electrical engineer for NASA. That's what he wanted to do. So super, super, super smart kid. And he actually had that goal for a very long time. But COVID happened and he wasn't allowed to go to class anymore. He had to stay in his dorm. And he was like, I'm kind of
up the creek
without a path here. Like I'm doing my work, but like I need
time.
some time.
Yeah.
I need something to do to pass the time.
Yeah.
And Eddie had actually shared his marketing course with us when he set everything up. And I said, just go learn how to do this, because my boy Trevor said that if you have marketing down, that you basically have the world in the palm of your hands.
Yeah.
So sent him the course, and I think it was like 2, maybe 3 days. And he was like, yeah, dude, I know how to do this after this course. Right.
Yeah.
But it really came from my back was against the wall. My daughter was about to be born. She was born May 2020. And that company was literally dying on the vine. And we pretty much got 60 Day going February, March, somewhere there in 2020. And I watched it, how quickly it took off, and wanted to be able to just share that with other people.
Yeah.
Because, and this is no knock to the expensive marketing guys, because for the most part, they've earned that, right? But you know, if you don't have $10,000, $20,000 to just go spend on marketing right out of the gate, like, that's where I get more passionate, and we do deal with bigger companies, but I get more excited to work with the smaller guys that don't have that kind of a budget, but want to get into marketing and want to be able to grow, because I watched us go from literally 0 to millions in under 2 years through social media.
Marketing.
And I just wanted to be able to share that. Is really what it came down to. It had nothing to do with, I want to go out there and make a ton of money in marketing. It was, I want to be able to change people's lives the way that it changed my life, my family's life.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because in reality, even prior to that marketing campaign, we had the systems and the processes. We had sales teams. We had anything and everything that we could possibly need to be successful in it, except the marketing campaign. Right? That was literally the missing key or the missing component.
Right.
And if you have the ability to control your lead flow, then you have the ability to control your growth. Right. And so at this point with 60-day credit repair, you know, we can fluctuate our marketing. The spend can go up, it can go down. Hey, it's holidays. We can now pull back on spend during, let's say, December, so that our marketing expense doesn't have to stay the same. But the cool thing about it is the monthly billing stays the same, even as the December months come, when people take a little bit more time off, right? And the marketing campaign. So it's crazy that December could be one of your most profitable months, because usually that's when a lot of businesses are hurting, because everybody else is spending money for Christmas and this, that, the other, obviously outside of retailers, right? Where everybody's spending the money. But I'm talking about just a normal, you know, traditional business. That's when most people hurt. And that's when we can take the biggest checks, because our overhead's the lowest. And so to any listener out there, of anybody that's sitting there with time on their hands, wondering what they're going to do with their life, marketing is a great tool. Even if you end up going to own a completely different business or doing something else completely outside of marketing, it's good just to kind of know and understand the game a little bit, to the point to where, you know, you could play devil's advocate if you are working with a higher end marketing company and you actually can speak the lingo, or you can run your own marketing campaigns on a completely different business that you own, right? Which is something that we're doing, you know? And so it kind of makes it nice and makes it the barrier of entry to a new business a little bit easier, because you can go in and test, well, how much does it cost to produce a lead, right? And like I would say, for the majority of people listening that haven't ever started a business, that's thinking about the business plan and the fulfillment, this, that, the other, the best place to start is, can you create a lead, and how much does that lead cost? And will that lead even convert? Right? I remember, do you remember 7 Laws Financial?
I do.
You know, that dude, I swore up and down that was going to be my retirement. I finally, through all Randy Phillips trucking, you know, all of the shit storms that had to go through to find this thing that I thought was going to be so great. We even worked out a deal with some people that already had wrote a book about the 7 laws of financial freedom, whatever. We went through this whole process of signing a contract with them. They were going to get royalties. We were going to use their systems of that book and actually create like a coaching course and teach people how to get out of debt and how to handle their finances. Anyways, long story short, we're like 30 or 40 grand deep into it. And we're like, okay, let's kick up a marketing campaign. And then we kick up the marketing campaign after all of these negotiations, all this trouble that we went through. And the leads were shit. You know, we'd get on the phone, they're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, or whatever. Like, we couldn't even create a conversion. So we just spent 6 months going back and forth to Salt Lake, negotiating this deal, what the royalty fees were going to be. We even had Gunny in fulfillment starting reading the book, and he was going to start being the coach, you know, all of this stuff. So we put the cart before the horse. There has to be something that pulls the business down the path, and that's lead generation, that's marketing, that's can it convert, and at what cost? Because if you don't even know at what cost then how do you even know what to price your services at? Right? Like, or if it's a situation like the debt consolidation stuff, they pay a percentage. Now, if you send over $30,000 to a debt consolidation company and they pay you a certain percentage, the question is it worth it if you can create a lead for X?
Right.
And you have to go through the process of creating the lead, dialing the marketing campaign, sending it over, seeing what those paychecks look like, and then you're like, okay, we have a real business here, right? And so I think too many people overthink the whole process in the back end and the fulfillment. We had the fulfillment sitting there for 60-day credit repair for a year.
Right.
We bought it a year prior, but we just kind of had it in our back pocket because we saw how powerful it was.
Right.
Homegirl that bought the house in Cedar City that was crying in the break room,
right,
and then quit 3 months later.
Yeah,
after buying a house, after removing 35 collections or whatever it was, going from like garbage to 700 credit score,
right,
in like 4 months or whatever it was.
Yep.
So we saw how powerful it was, and we said we have to do this. It's kind of a similar. So we just bought the process without even fully knowing what to do with it yet, or knowing how to generate leads. It's a very similar story than what Colter's talking about. He saw the power of marketing and knew that it had the ability to change people's lives, or help business owners go from, $100,000 in annual revenue to millions of dollars a year in annual, if that's what they want to do.
Right. And to be able to control it. And most importantly, I feel, is control the narrative of the leads that are coming in.
Yeah.
Specs that are coming in.
Yeah.
I know, speaking to the sales guys out there, everybody likes to blame the leads, right? But when you're like, for 60-day, the ad is exactly what's in the script, and then the script is exactly what's in the compliance, and then the compliance is exactly what's in fulfillment. So there's no the customer saying, well, this is why I clicked on you, and now this is what you're saying, and then having conversion fall down, having issues in fulfillment and all these things. And when you're dealing with social media marketing, you can make those adjustments so much quicker, so much faster. And then to be able to control, if you do want to scale, there's some people that don't want to get
too big
into the millions, or they don't want to manage people. That's cool. You can do that through social media marketing.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to scale, you can also do that.
Yeah.
So it's being able to control, again,
putting you in the driver's
how the public actually perceives you.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of marketing companies will just tell you, this is how you should do it. This is what your scripts are going to be. This is what you're going to say in your ad. With us, we can give you that guidance, but if that's not how you want to be perceived, if that's not the clientele that you want to bring in, let's try to tailor it to how you want to be seen.
Yeah.
Right. So that you can actually get the clients that you want, not just any clients. Right. Because again, when you're running a business, you want to run something that you are proud of, not something that you're just trying to suck the money out of. There are those people out there that's all they're in business for, and that's okay. Whatever, more power to you.
It's just the reality of the marketplace.
Yeah. And then there's the people that they only want to do something that they actually believe in, right? And they only want to deal with the people that they want to deal with, the people that resonate with them and that speak to them. And you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Through those types of platforms.
You talked about managing people. You said, well, if you don't want to manage people, which sounds sexy, would you say that that's the most difficult part of entrepreneurship, or, running a business? I mean, you're in it on a day-to-day basis. You have 25, 30 people, something like that total that you're overseeing every single day. That includes sales teams, admin, fulfillment, sales manager, all of basically everything that you need at all levels, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say is the most difficult part about running a business on a day-to-day basis?
Managing, it's the most difficult and it's the most rewarding.
Yeah.
All at the same time. And I refer to, and I'm not saying that my coworkers are children, but I like to relate it that way, that like your children are the biggest stress that you have in your life, but it's also the thing that you care about the most, and it's the most rewarding, and it's the thing that you love the most.
Yeah.
Right? So coworkers, I don't like to reference them as, employees. I think that we're all working together. I wouldn't have what I have without them, and vice versa, right? We're all working for the common goal. But just like your kids, when you're telling them, hey, like, don't smoke weed, like that's not good for you at 12 years old. Like, and they're like, you don't know what you're talking about, Dad. You'll tell your coworkers, hey, let's not do it this way. Let's do it this way. It might be a little bit more work right now, but in the long run, it's getting. And then you're not here. You're not doing this. You're not actually in the trenches doing. You
don't understand.
You don't know.
Yeah, you're right. On the call.
Everybody else is doing it, Dad. Right? Like, but then again, you just try to stay steady and let them know that it is the right thing to do, and you might bump heads. Yeah. You might even be wrong from time to time with the advice that you're giving. And the biggest thing is that if you are, is just to say, sorry, I was wrong. Yeah. Let's look at this a different way. Yeah. And people will respect that. Yeah. So much more than just, I'm the boss, do what I say. Yeah. There's been so many times that I've gone into a big change and just saying, guys, I might be wrong. Yeah. This might be the complete opposite of what actually needs to happen, but we're going to try it. Yeah. We're going to give it our all. And I'm going to rely on you guys to communicate to me to let me know how it's actually going. Yeah. Because the last thing I want to do is you guys are just sitting there just getting your faces bashed in all day, and I'm back here not doing it, and then you guys build up resentment towards me, and then you end up quitting, which you're somebody that I want here, right? Yeah. So I'm going to rely on you, and I might not be right. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, we're still going to survive, and we'll just need to pivot as we go. And so that's been a big thing, man. I swear I change something once a week. Yeah. At 60 day.
They're probably used to it by now, huh?
Not only are they used to it, but they're so much happier when they're seeing change happen now. Yeah. Because again, if we look around, it's usually like, I'm not 100% happy with everything. Like, there's something that could be better. Yeah. And the only way that's going to happen is if we change something. Yeah. Right. So it's like, hey, let's tweak this a little bit. Let's tweak that. And again, if it's not working or we're getting some pushback or whatever, let me know what it is. Yeah. And if I can offer a solution to whatever's being said or done or whatever, we'll try that. And if it just continues to happen or gets worse or whatever, let's try to figure out a different solution. So again, the most stressful thing and the most rewarding thing all at the same time.
People you got to work with.
Again, and I had a post in the group the other day, because we think that, owning a business is toes in the sand, Lamborghinis, mansions, right? And and if you aren't doing those things, you feel like you're a failure in business. But it's like, are you providing a platform for people to come in and be able to provide for their families, have a life? And if the answer to that is yes, like, you're winning. Yeah. If it's somewhere that they feel comfortable to come into every day, you're winning. Yeah. It might not be vacations all the time. Yeah. You're most likely going to work more than everybody every single day. My day starts at 6 a.m. and it ends at 9 p.m. when I finally turn my phone face down on my nightstand. That's when it ends. Yeah. So you will work more, harder, and you're going to be more stressed out, but and that's why you have to understand that you got to put people above you and before you. Yeah. And hopefully if you go into it with, hey, I'm just going to do this so that it comes back to me, it probably won't. Yeah. You go into it with the intent of, I'm doing these things to help other people, because if I was on my own, I'd be fine anyways. I'll find a way. Right. Yeah. But let me try to find a way to help all these other people live the life that they would like to live. And if it ends up benefiting me in the long run, then cool. If not, then I'll be fine either way.
Yeah. Isn't that the most frustrating part, though, is to have good intentions and want the best for somebody and then watch them create their own demise with the stories that they tell in their head? And I mean, how many people have we seen come and go, right, that had the same opportunity that you have and could be in the same situation that you're in, but they were their own demise. They created their own chaos. And how many people do we know over the course of the 15 years are still pretty much in the same situation that they were in 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whether it's back and forth living at their parents' house or, on and off of drugs or, whatever it is, they just haven't advanced outside of the mentality that they had prior. And for me, that was one of the most frustrating things is like, look, motherfucker, you got all the potential in the world, dude,
right?
But you're just a fucking dumbass. You can't even save yourself from you. And you think everything outside of you is the problem, but in reality, you are the problem. You still hang out at the same shady motherfucking places with the same shady motherfucking people doing the same shady ass shit. And then you think that the world and other people are shady.
Right.
Like it's just your perspective because that's who you are as an individual. And to me, it's absolutely crazy to know where I've came from and the past that I have versus where I'm at now. Watching you go from a skateboarder, punk kid, right, at 19 to doing what you're doing, living a good life, raising a good family, building good businesses, taking care of people, giving them an opportunity. But at the exact same time, it's also one of the most frustrating things in the entire world because you know what your intentions are and you have somebody in the organization. It's going to happen regardless at one point or another where there's going to be a cancer that comes in and starts whispering in other people's ear and planting seeds of doubt. Well, they're just changing this for that. And it's like, dude, look at the compensation plan. It's only gone up. It's not like we're like reducing it or adjusting it in a negative way. We're always thinking about you guys first, but then you always think that it's us versus you. Right. And there's those people with that mentality, but that mentality doesn't get you anywhere because we still see the same people.
Right. Yeah.
Doing the same old shit 10 years later.
And it goes back to the very first question you asked, and I said there was layers to it. Like, what have I really learned is you got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you have to show up differently than you did yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're good with where you're at, which if you are, that's awesome. I'm not knocking that whatsoever.
Right? I don't even know if that's a good plan. Even if you're good with where you're at, it's more about the progress and the process of progress than it is actually the result that you're currently.
Maybe you're good financially and you would rather work on your family.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
You have to aim at something. Something has to be improving.
Correct. But in the entrepreneurship side of things, like you can't just show up the way that you did yesterday and expect to, again, have a brighter tomorrow.
Yeah.
You should strive to be a little bit, but just a tiny bit better each and every day, right?
Even not in entrepreneurship. Even
for salespeople, that's more what I'm speaking to specifically, right? It's like, I'm going to show up today. I'm going to do exactly what I did yesterday, even though yesterday fucking sucked and I'm thinking about quitting anyways, but I'm just going to show up today and today's the day. I'm going to do exactly yesterday, but I'm expecting a way bigger day and a bigger check today, even though I'm going to do exactly what I did yesterday.
I'm not going to increase my knowledge, my skills, or the people that I hang around.
The world's my oyster today, for whatever reason.
I'm hoping for a better... Dude, I can't... There was a period of time there, even when I started making, six figures and I thought I had it all figured out and would be on the websites where people are going to send me clothes.
Oh, dude,
I remember that.
That was awesome.
I was like, bro, I'm going to be on a clothing.
They're going to shop.
It's a clothing subscription. And they're just I'm going to pick out a couple of things. And then from there, they're now my tailor.
Right.
And I thought I was Mr. Big. I never went through with it because I was too cheap, You
were a Maxxinista for a minute.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I loved TJ Maxx for a hot minute.
Oh, yeah.
TJ Maxx prices are a lot more reasonable than the subscription based. But, going from a mindset of, making 150 grand a year thinking that you have it all figured out, what I was doing is I was just literally bottlenecking myself. There was no reason. I didn't need to change anything, right? And then at that point, my income didn't change. I made the same amount year after year after year after year because I thought I had it all figured out because my income told me that I did.
Right.
And in reality, that's a very slippery path. I don't care if somebody's making $1 million a year, $2 million a year, 50 grand a year. I don't care if they're in sales. I don't care if they're an entrepreneur. I don't care if they're a fucking bus driver. It doesn't matter who you are, what industry you're in, or what you do for a living. What matters is what are you doing every single day to get a little bit better?
Right.
And if you're getting a little bit better in whatever area, whether it is, through reading, whether it is improving communication with your family, whether it's, moving your body and improving physically. When you improve physically, you feel different. These chemicals get released. And when you feel different, you start thinking different, right? And when you start thinking different, new ideas happen, and then new actions are created, and then new results eventually appear. The problem is it just doesn't appear in 3 months or 6 months. When you talked about, hey, just keep showing up, but show up different. The hardest thing in the entire world is to keep showing up and force yourself to continue to grow in a positive way, but yet look around and see, well, my house hasn't really changed. My car is still the exact same. Like there's this tidal wave that's building in the background behind the scenes that you're just unaware of, and you quit before the momentum actually gets behind it to where it can crash and hit the shore. Right. I'm sure there were periods. Look at the first couple of years that we were partners and you were in the back office, you invested and said, hey, I want to be a partner. You've earned it. It was 10 years in at that point. You showed up every day with a good attitude. You handled your business and said, okay.
Not always.
Yeah. I mean, we butted our heads here and there. I mean, whatever. I mean, I would call it your teenage years.
I'm human too.
Yeah.
I'm human too.
So he's not perfect. Believe me. I straightened that wrinkle out, I ironed him out and made him who he is. No, I'm kidding. I can't take credit for that. But for real, the first couple of years that we were, that business was kind of on its last leg. Right. And I know that there were a year or two when you took over and I stepped back that there were frustrations, right? You weren't getting paid what you thought you should get paid. Why? Because there wasn't dividends or draws. We were kind of running a break-even business at that point because it was dying on the vine, so to speak. And so that's kind of goes directly to my point that like you could put in a year or 2 or 3 of work and be doing all the right things, but the results might not be there yet, which is also the most frustrating thing in the world, where your effort is increased. Maybe the money has been laid out, and now you're doing more, yet the reward, you look around and it's not there. Right. But what did you do? Stayed the course, the adjustments were made, 2020, marketing came in, boom, and
everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So I want to interject there because there was some pretty big pivotal moments that had happened with me as a manager that were not comfortable to go through. Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get into too much of the logistics of it, but I remember talking to a kid I was working out with, and I was like, man, I just can't believe this is happening, basically. And a suggestion was made to me to read a book. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
And I was saying that to this kid. I'm trying to commiserate. I'm trying to get him to basically say it was a situation with you and Kale, right? And I was mad at you guys, so I'm telling him my side of the story because he was actually in the day-to-day with me at that point.
Yeah.
So he kind of knew more of the story than you guys knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, they're being dicks. They told me to read a book. And I was really close with this kid, and he just goes, you should. And it just like kind of stopped me. Like he just didn't give me the answer of like what I wanted to hear.
He didn't say, fuck those guys.
He did end up saying, you are right and they are in the wrong, but that's a really good book and you should end up reading it. I didn't read it. I don't read still to this day, Audible till I die.
Yeah.
But I listened to that book, and that's when 60 Day had actually happened. And it was kind of like a clean break from the bad management that I had in myself for the previous 2 years, right? And again, while it was happening, I was pissed off. And I was like, these guys are wrong. Everybody's wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. But maybe.
Yeah.
So I listened to this book, and it just completely changed how I looked at everything and how I showed up every single day.
Yeah.
And that's when, again, it wasn't just the marketing. It was everything coming together, falling into place for me.
Yeah.
Really, and quotations, right? Because everything was literally falling apart for me at that time. And I still was very calm about everything that was happening because of the self-work that I was doing at that point, that I just knew that everything was going to be fine. It was going to work out, and what was going to happen was going to happen. And I remember when it started and I was telling my family members how much I was going to make, and they were legitimately laughing at me. Okay. You know, again, after a year, then they all started to take notice, and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. So this is actually doing what you said it was going to do. But it goes to not only just the showing up, it was willing to be like, I know I was right in that situation, but I was still being given advice, and instead of stonewalling it and shutting it off and not being willing to even look inside.
Yeah.
I don't think that without that event happening, and without you guys telling me to maybe look inside, and even the person that I was looking for validation saying, maybe you should.
Yeah.
I don't think that 60 Day would be what it is today without that. And I don't think Thrifty would be here without that, or Kick would be here without that.
Yeah.
So that moment was one of the most painful that I had to go through, but it was 1,000%
what you needed to
necessary.
Go through. Yeah.
So if you're listening, you're still not trying to read books, this is your notice.
Yeah. That was his sales pitch. And to be quite honest with you, it was really good. You know,
it was great. And still do it. Still do it to this day.
If you don't at least download Audible or read a book after that, cosign from Colter on how important it is to shift your perspective, right? I mean, what that basically said is, if I wasn't working on myself and open to improve, I would have just burned it all down, and who knows where I would be.
Absolutely.
Maybe you would be one of the people that we talked about that are in the same, trying to find a new sales job, and it's just the 50
and blaming you guys for where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, fuck those guys.
For taking the other side, right?
Whatever it was, right?
Absolutely.
So the thing is, you're going through whatever it is that you're going through, which means that you have some hand in that, right?
Yep.
Meaning you have the ability to help make the adjustments necessary so that you don't have to deal with what you're currently dealing with. And that might be just a perspective shift completely by listening to something new, or reading a book, or surrounding yourself with right people that say, it's a good book. The lesson that I pulled from the whole podcast is hang out with somebody else that also likes books.
Don't surround yourself with yes men.
Yeah.
That would be a very crucial thing, because he wasn't, and he isn't.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very thankful for that. Yeah. And that person is actually still very involved in my life. And, very thankful for his perspective and his 2 cents that he's always willing to offer.
This is initials TB.
It is.
God, I know. Let's shout out to Mr. Black.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I figured. You guys were working out together for a minute, so
yeah.
So I figured I was trying to put 2 and 2 together to wonder who that was. What's the worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
Dang, dude. I mean, it would only be from you. So
really? Oh, you not that one. You not that one. Not that one. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Oh, the worst piece of advice. I don't know. I don't know.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of advice I've ever been given. I honestly wouldn't be able to pluck one out.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Everything just overlaps.
Lifts heavy weights.
I like
far.
Everybody always likes to look at the world so black and white.
Yeah.
And there's 50 shades of gray in just about everything. There are those things that are black and white. But then there's still the 50 Shades of Gray. And if there was anything that, any nugget I would like to leave with anybody, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is the yin and the yang of life.
Yeah.
For every push, there's going to be an equal and opposite pull.
Yeah.
In the other direction, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. But understand, again, the yin and the yang is light and dark. There is no dark without the light. There is no light without the dark. So for there to be a pull, there has to be a push. So just understand that that's necessary, right? And the harder you push, the more of a pull you're going to have.
Yeah.
So to try to find as much balance as you possibly can. Don't go too far into a push. Try to balance as much as you possibly can and understand that the pendulum will swing one way or the other. And a lot of the times you're not in control of what that is. The only thing that you can control is how you are reacting to it and how you are perceiving what is happening. So.
Wow. So what he's saying is if you're going through some shit, it can't last forever.
It'll swing back the other way.
It'll swing back the other way. Yeah. And the sun's going to come out. The weird thing is when you're going through shit, it just doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't seem like it.
It just doesn't feel like it. Yeah. It's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like life is really and it's just, you can't see the trees through the fog is what they say. When you're in the fog, that doesn't mean that the trees don't exist. Right. They're there. All you're seeing is the fog. The fog will be lifted. You'll be able to see the trees and the sun will come out, all of that. But unfortunately, that's just what life is. And I'm a big believer that life turns out more so based upon how you handle the lows than any other thing. You talked about your low of saying, hey, fuck these guys pretty much, right? Like they're in the wrong, I'm in the right.
Right.
But how you handled that low is you did a lot of introspection and said, okay, well, how can I learn from it and how can I still pop out better? Even if I was right, I'm still experiencing the low. Yep. And so you utilize the low as a way to catapult yourself to a new individual that created new opportunities and things started falling together for you instead of falling apart, right?
And the introspection gets dark.
Fucking A. Fucking A.
I think that's why a lot of people avoid it.
Yeah.
It gets very, very, very dark. And the most meaningful work is done
in the dark.
Alone. And then again, you have to have that to have the light.
Yeah. Well, I'll end it there because it was a beautiful ending. Good advice. It was good chopping it up with you. It's good doing business with you. You've been a great friend and a great business partner for
likewise
15 plus years and hopefully the next 15 plus.
The next 15.
Yeah. Don't cause no problems. How do people reach out to you if they want to do business with 60 Day, with Thrifty?
So 60 Day, Colter the Credit Doc on Instagram. For Thrifty, you can just go to our website, thrifty.marketing, and submit a request there, or you can hit us up on Instagram as well, Thrifty Marketing.
Sweet. Well, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you are looking to level up personally and professionally, go to joinrbo.com, put your name, phone number, and email in, and somebody will get in contact with you. We do not just allow people to, pay and hop in the group. We want to have a consultation with you. We want to make sure that you're somebody that's a good fit. Our job is to control and create an environment that's of growth. And if you feel like that's something that you're ready for, go to joinrbo.com. Other than that, keep kicking ass. We'll see you guys next week.